I think we'll get started. It is just past the 6:30 hour, so we'll get started for those that are joining us in person. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherry Williams, and I am the Vice President of East Hants and District's Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to begin the evening with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land upon which we meet today is the traditional unceded homeland of the Mi'kmaq. We honor the Mi'kmaq elders, past, present, and future, who have stewarded these lands for all generations. May our journey include being respectful and thankful for the welcoming we have received to these lands. Founded in 1986, the East Hants Chamber of Commerce is in its 38th year as a nonprofit organization. Our core focus continues to be on community business growth and providing a collective voice for business owners. Check out ehcc.ca for more information on our support and services. On behalf of the East Hants Chamber of Commerce, I want to welcome you to tonight's candidate forum. We surveyed our members in advance for questions they wanted to ask our East Hants candidates, using this forum as a platform to hear responses from all parties equally. A big thank you to our candidates who will be taking part in this provincial election and for taking the time to participate in tonight's forum. The event will be recorded and available on the East Hants Chamber of Commerce website and also through our social media channels over the next week. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the Laker News and specifically Pat Healy for his help in showcasing this great event and promoting it throughout the region via social media and the Laker.ca. It's always great to have your support and partnership, Pat. As most of you know, Tracy and Karen from the Chamber office oversee the Chamber day-to-day operations and activities. They've been instrumental in organizing tonight's event and sending out the electronic communications to our members. Thank you both for your hard work in putting all of this together. And I want to extend our sincere appreciation to Mr. Greg Roach, who will be our moderator for the evening. I know this is not the first time he has handled one of these question periods, and he will bring some stability to the forum, I'm sure. Thank you, Greg, for your help this evening, and to all those behind the scenes that made this event happen. We just couldn't have done this without you. I wish all the candidates the very best as you enter the last few weeks of the election. And the message for all of those in our community, it's important to get out there and exercise your right to vote. Now over to Pat Healy, who would like to say a few words.
All right, Pat. The Laker News is proud to partner with the Chamber to put on tonight's candidates forum. And now, Greg.
Thank you, Pat. Welcome, candidates. Thank you for being here tonight, and we sincerely appreciate you giving us the opportunity to get to know you better. We drew for order, and John MacDonald from the Progressive Conservatives will be giving us opening remarks first.
Thanks, Greg, and glad you said my name right this time. Last time I almost got out of a question by naming somebody else's name. So I am Johnny MacDonald. I'm the PC candidate for Hants East. I've been moved to the community in 1999. I'm a small business owner that, thank God, was able to run without me doing any work with it. I've spent 3 years in government, and I'm chair of public accounts and the health committee. I'm very happy that the Chamber of Commerce always enjoys to put this on, and I look forward to the questions. Thank you, Greg.
We'll hear from the NDP candidate, Abby Cameron.
Thank you so much. I'd like to open by thanking the Laker and the East Hants District Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum. And I want to thank everybody who came out on a pretty blustery and cold evening. So I do appreciate the support. And I also appreciate those who will tune in virtually. So, as mentioned, my name is Abby Cameron. I was born and raised in Shubenacadie and spent more than a decade as a reporter and the editor of the Weekly Press, which was our local newspaper for many, many years. That role gave me the privilege to be fully immersed in the communities that make up Hants East. Since its closure, I have missed having that presence in the community and would love to be able to do more to get back into that. After it closed, I was like many during the pandemic who was unemployed and home. I took the chance to retrain. I became an accounting technician, worked in insurance for a little while, but I am now the caucus coordinator for the NSNDP and work closely with not only our leader, Claudia Chender, but other members of caucus daily. I do think it's important to point out that we are here tonight because the Houston government did not keep the very first promise that they made to Nova Scotians, which was a fixed election date. But it also gives us the chance to talk about what's important to us, the importance and the issues that matter. And I am looking forward to talking more about affordability, about housing, about healthcare, about economics. And I really look forward to discussing the NDP's platform with you tonight.
Not least, our Liberal candidate, Shannon MacWilliams.
Hey everybody, my name is Shannon MacWilliam, and I'm the Liberal candidate in this provincial election. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this evening and also Pat for everything he does to support local media. It really is a pleasure to be here with you this I moved to Hants East in 2007 when my husband and I found our home in Gore. We fell in love with the area immediately, and we spent our lives building our lives here. We live here. We both work here. We're raising our 2 children here. And we have a very special and unique riding. We have a corridor that is thriving and undergoing record growth. And we also have our rural areas that are known for tourism and their agricultural heritage. In my professional life, I spent the last 2 decades working in group benefits as a business analyst and a program manager. And my main job in this role is to bring diverse stakeholders together to solve problems, drive change that benefits everybody. So I'm not a career politician, but I have a passion and a love for politics. And I want to see Hants East grow, but in a way that's thoughtful and sustainable. I want to see our schools be places where our children are safe and can learn and thrive. And I want to see better primary care available in our community. We also have to support our families and seniors as they undergo this ongoing affordability crisis. So my passion for change with my professional experience will make me well equipped to deal with these ideas head on for Hants East. And again, thank you very much for having me here tonight. And I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Now, Abby, you drew the privilege of answering our first question. While rural internet service across East Hants and the province has improved immensely, cell service quality has been deteriorating across East Hants over the past few years and progressively getting worse. The Chamber surveyed the community with over 95% reporting issues of spotty service to none at all. What's alarming were the number of responses of failed emergency calls. If elected, what will your party do to solve this issue?
So I don't know right off exactly what we would do, but I do know that making cell phone service better across the province, not just in Hants East, but across the province, is a priority for, well, I would say all 3 parties here tonight. Having a failure of a 911 system is catastrophic. It's resulted in unfortunate deaths in our province. And I would love to see more infrastructure built, especially along our main highways, but also our back roads, and to be able to create a better network. And I think the technology is there, and I think the political will is there as well to get a job done.
Thank you, Abby. Shannon?
Yes, the Liberal platform is the only platform that calls out specifically in investing in cell infrastructure, especially along the 100 Series Highway, because communication is key, internet is key, and it's also very important for the businesses that are along the corridor as well. I heard a lot on the doorsteps about how impactful it is on your day, and not in a good way, in a negative way, when that cell phone call is on you. So we are committed to improving that infrastructure.
Thank you, Shannon. John?
Thanks, Greg. So for cell coverage for first responders and TMR, it's a big problem. There are dead spots all through the province. What most people don't know is that in 2022, Build Nova Scotia identified 20,000 unserviceable addresses in Nova Scotia and over 1,000 kilometers of unserviced roads. And that's why in in May of 2024, we made an announcement where we're investing over $65 million to improve cell towers. That's happening now. It's not on our platform because we've already announced it. So that in the East Hants area, there will be 3 towers that are either upgraded or new to enhance it. And that's just phase 1. There's phase 2 to deal with it. The big priority is our main roads and to support our first responders so that their radios work. So if they need to do a call, they're able to get a hold of the proper people. So thank you.
Thank you, John. For all the candidates, if you want me to repeat a question, please feel free to ask me to repeat it. Shannon, the next one is for you. The cost of doing business has increased substantially in the past few years. Whether it's an increase in leases, vehicle expense, shipping costs, power, communications, or interest rates, the profit margin is growing smaller year after year. According to the Government of Nova Scotia, small businesses create jobs in local communities, enrich the province, and strengthen Nova Scotia's economic future. How do you intend to reduce the cost to business owners and sole proprietors so that they can keep their businesses operating?
Absolutely. Small business is the backbone of our community and our economy, and we have to support small business owners wherever we can. The Liberal platform does look at a tax cut to the small business income tax, as well as changing the threshold. We also talk a lot about addressing the affordability crisis across the board. That includes small businesses, especially when it comes to power rates. Another thing that we don't have in our platform that could help small businesses, we're not going to be increasing the minimum wage to $16.50 in 2025, because I think historically it is the small business owner that absorbs that expense, especially coming in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. John?
So we've announced in the platform that the small business tax is going to be decreased from 2.5 to 1.5, and the threshold will go from 500,000 to 700,000. This is going to wind up helping saving small business, and I would agree, small business is what drives and builds Nova Scotia, and we have to make it more affordable for them. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Abby?
The NDP platform does include a commercial tax cut from 2.5 to 1.5 in our platform as well. And a big way to support small local business is to ensure that the community that business operates in is thriving. And that is a way that we can support them through affordability measures and making sure that the people that live in the community have more money at the end of the month so that they can be a supportive member of the community, which includes our small businesses.
Thank you, Abby. John, you're going to kick us off on the next one.
Yep.
In addition to the previous question, how do you plan to ensure that small businesses have access to adequate financing options? What specific programs or initiatives will you implement to support small businesses and local entrepreneurs?
So, Greg, I think in the plan, when it talks about small business, I mean, it is the decreasing of taxes because that's going to give them more money. I know that some people will say that we're going to increase the minimum wage, but the minimum wage has to be increased to get people working. So for us, the big priority is getting decreased taxes, which is going to make more money in the small business hands, so they're able to invest it in their companies.
Thank you, John. Ed?
Another way to support small business is to make sure that there is a thriving community around it. If we can give the workers of these small businesses access to better childcare, access to better housing, it's going to help people stay in the communities and in turn help the small businesses.
Thank you, Abby. Shannon?
Can you repeat the question for me?
Sure. In addition to the previous question, how do you plan to ensure that small businesses have access to adequate financing options? What specific programs or initiatives will you implement to support small businesses and local entrepreneurs?
Mm-hmm. There's nothing in the Liberal platform that calls out funding for small business, but like John and Abby said, cutting the tax rate and addressing the affordability crisis on all levels will be a support to the small business owner as well.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay, Abby, the next one's for you. We see development happening all throughout Nova Scotia. but very few units are actual affordable housing.
Mhm.
What plan would you have to allow for individuals that are lower income earners to be able to afford purchasing a home or even be able to rent in the East Hants area?
So one of my favorite things about Hants East is how much it has grown. Our corridor is booming. There's maybe not cranes in the skies, but there's building everywhere. But these units aren't always accessible to our communities and the people that live there. So something that the NDP is focused on. We just announced this week a program for rent-to-own starter homes for families with incomes of less than $100,000, which will bring home ownership to lots of families that maybe it was a path that wasn't there before. We have programs in place to have a financial aid rebate back for people with under $70,000 as a household income, up to $900 a year. And we would really work very hard to work with the nonprofit housing and co-op models of housing to bring different options of housing. Because the answer to housing is not more houses. It has to be affordable and accessible.
Thank you, Abby. Shannon?
Bringing new units to the corridor and having affordable housing is very important. We have a mandate and a pledge to build 80,000 new homes by 2032, which of course will increase the stock and will lower the price of homes. We also want to support co-ops and have a variety of different housing options for people. And we also, within the 80,000 new homes, we want to put aside a number of those and have a thoughtfulness for seniors as well, so that there is affordable senior housing as well in our community.
Thank you, Shannon. John?
Thanks, Greg. So in our platform, we're going to be changing so that for 10 years we've had where the credit unions have given business loans, and what we're doing is we're actually up to $500,000. The homeowners would have to pay only 2% down payment on the purchase price. That is going to help. And it's one of the few times where I'll probably say I disagree with one of my candidates, which is, I'm sorry, we need more housing. The only way apartments are going to get less is we have more of them. The only way housing is going to get less is there's more in the market. I have people that come to me weekly that all of a sudden, because of no fault of their own, they're out and trying to find an apartment. They're living in their couch surfing. They're living in their cars, just hoping to find a place that's available. And that's not just in East Hants, it's all over the province. We need to get more, and that will help get it down. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, Shannon. We hear through media and other sources that the cost of living in Nova Scotia has become unmanageable for many. For example, living expenses, including home utilities. If elected, what will you do to make living in Nova Scotia more affordable?
The affordability crisis is something that hits all of us, and it does need to be addressed. The Liberal government wants to raise the personal exemption amount on your tax to get more tax back in your pocket. We also want to cut the HST down by 2 points and really address the power rates as well. Over the last 3 years, power rates have increased about 15%. So we want to look at, one, keeping Nova Scotia Power accountable for the resiliency of the network, and also work to lower those rates for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. John?
Thanks, Greg. Affordability is a huge issue, and some we have control over, some we don't. Power rates, we've in our platform said power rates will not go more than the average across the country, which we have to make sure also Nova Scotia Power is accountable and has it. That's why Nova Scotia Power has got unseen fines from the province for not meeting their mandates. In our plan, we're also looking at making the basic exemption from 8,000 to 11,000, decrease in HST 1%. These are all measures that we were able to do because of what we've done for the last 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Abby?
So the NDP has a lot of plans to hopefully make life more affordable. The first one is to remove HST off of even more essentials, which will have a greater relief for everybody. This includes things like your cell phone bill, your internet bill, to have the HST removed completely. We would like to see HST removed completely off of all food at the grocery store, prepared included, to help bring those prices down. We would love to remove the tax off the initial purchase and also the installation of heat pumps, which can help people get off of relying on oil, but it can also help make their home more efficient to heat. And we are also calling for waiving fees for driver's licenses, which includes address and name changes, and as well as license plate renewals. And these will have an immediate impact in the pocketbook of Nova Scotians.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, John. The need for housing is increasing, so it's important to have homes for everyone. But with the increased climate crisis and global warming, what would you as MLA do about increased development that is causing deforestation, infilling of oceans and wetlands, and overall destruction of the natural habitat happening in the riding and in Nova Scotia?
So, thanks, Greg. The big problem is we have built houses as single dwellings, and we can't. The market has changed where people don't want to live in a 3-bedroom single dwelling house. So we need to find density. There should never be a point where we're actually sacrificing the environment for development, which the question appears to have the view that we are. And every development requires to go through environmental studies, and the Department of Environment is very tough on them. Trust me, I've had to deal with them for 3.5 years on things. So I think ensuring that the Department of Environment is involved in all of the developments that go on to ensure that the wetlands are not filled in. But we have to deal with density. We have to look at building higher and not more just houses. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Abby?
So I know the question is mostly about housing, but I do think that this is an important time to say that one of the first things an NDP government would do is proclaim the Coastal Protection Act, which will stop a lot of infilling, which will stop a lot of development on the coastline. But I agree, we need more housing. It is important for that housing to have a certain amount of density. I do have concerns about the special planning area power that our housing minister does have to overstep municipal boundaries with in regards to development. But there is a world where we can build sustainable, efficient homes while not destroying our environment to do so.
Excuse me.
Thank
My
you.
turn. Okay. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. One of the things the Liberal government will do is proclaim the Coastal Protection Act right away as well. And also when we're building housing, we have to think about density, but we have to think about deforestation as well. So when there's local groups that are protesting, we have to give them a voice.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
I opened it for you.
Okay, Abby,
Mhm.
we have a very simple question,
Okay.
and we want to hear lots of emotion from all of you guys.
Okay.
What do you like about East Hants?
Okay, I can go on for a really long time about Hants East. So I was born in Shubenacadie, lived there for a long time, but one thing that makes me different from the other candidates on the stage is that I had the immense privilege of telling the stories of communities for 12 years. I know the resilience of our people. I know the beauty of our coastline. I know the differences between our corridor that's just so urban and suburban and growing, but also respecting our rural areas that is full of agriculture, that is full of natural beauty with our coastlines. I call myself the resident country girl at work. I do work for the NSNDP caucus office, and I get Claudia Chender out here every time I can to have coffee at Cup of Soul. I've taken her to Burncoat Head Park. I've taken her to all the places that I'd love to go. And honestly, my favorite thing about Hants East is the people.
Thank you, Abby.
Hope that was enough emotion.
Awesome. You gave me a second to catch my breath. Well, I love East Hants. I love Hants East. We moved here in 2007. Fell in love with the area immediately. We have a corridor where you can get pretty much everything that you need, but we also have these rural areas that are just so special. The views are so special. We have to keep and maintain that as much as we can. And also the sense of community here is really something special. We have groups like the Facebook group East Hants Wants to Know, where you can basically virtually get to know people within your community and have that bond. So the people are my favorite thing at Hants East.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
John?
Well, I think all three are going to agree it's the people. One part I love for East Hants is you can be in the corridor and 10 minutes later you could be in 9 Mile River where you've got distance, or go up to Burnt Coat Head. You can have a great time. I was there once for an event and somebody actually said, oh yeah, this is great that the province does. And I said, this is owned by the municipality of East Hants. The province doesn't give any money for it. Most people assume it's a provincial park. It's not. It's a municipal park. Go to Kennecott, Finley Park, the amphitheater, the walking trails, 9 Mile River trails, Mount Uniacke, the trails that are there. This community will come together for anything. And we've seen it. We've had it in where somebody's house is a problem and you have a fundraiser raising tens of thousands of dollars. I'm sorry. I was raised in Sackville. You won't find that in HRM. You'll find it in East Hants. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, Shannon. With the you okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
With the recent directive to return to office mandated by the province, the volume of commuters has significantly increased. Lack of public transit contributes to traffic congestion, greenhouse emissions, and road safety. If elected, how would you as MLA work with local municipalities to combat these challenges?
Well, the first thing I would do as MLA is work with the Liberal platform to allow these remote workers to go back and work flexible work hours. I've been a remote worker myself for the last 10 years working out of my home, and you are just as productive as you are going into an office, which does lead to congestion. Our platform does have money set aside to invest in rural infrastructure, and also to invest in a rural public transportation system as well to help with that congestion.
Thank you, Shannon. Sean?
That's great. So as MLA, I'd be working with the municipality who has already started the work on having a bus system that will go through parts of the corridor because they've done the studies. If you're on a bus for more than an hour, it won't work. It's weird though, because if you change from one bus to another bus to another bus, you don't actually realize you were on a bus for an hour. So there's plans into it, and they would have actually already been in production with it, except COVID delayed it. So the community rider is doing work to get it there. The municipal council has endorsed it, and I'm just waiting for when they're all ready to get it done, because that's where it'll start. And you have to start there. You can't say we're going to have a bus that's going to go from Shuby to Walton to Maitland on day one, because it's not going to work. You have to start and build out. We do have to get there. We have to wind up making sure that people that are in Maitland, Kennecott, or have a way to get to the corridor if they don't have a car. Because, even though I say we need to have, build more, we also need to make it so it's affordable for somebody to live in Gore without a car, which isn't right now. You need to have a car, and that's what we need to do, and that will decrease a lot of people on the road. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I will ask you to repeat the question.
Okay, with the recent directive to return to office mandated by the province, the volume of commuters has significantly increased.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of public transit contributes to traffic congestion, greenhouse emissions, and road safety. If elected, how would you as an MLA work with local municipalities to combat these challenges?
So the municipality of East Hants is already doing this work, and I think the best thing that I can do as an MLA is to continue to support it. As a commuter myself, I do know that after that directive was put in place, I either battle an hour to get over the bridge, or if I take the ferry, if I'm not at the 7:21 ferry, I am not getting a parking space for the day. So I'm not sure if there was a lot of merit in the back to work directive, because I was somebody who worked from home and worked from home quite well, and almost more productively because I can yap. But no, investments in all kinds of public transit is definitely necessary. And I think the best thing I could do is offer my support to programs that are already in place and studies that are already underway.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, John. Increasingly, business productivity and safety of our children are being compromised due to the school bus shortage. Daily, buses are being canceled, impacting family and businesses. A safe arrival to and from school is a must. If elected, what will you do to support this?
Thanks, Greg. We actually had this question asked to us just at earlier tonight. We were with NSTU, and the biggest problem is we have an HR problem where people don't want to be bus drivers because of either the rate, the hours, the abuse they have to pay, and we have to work with them and the schools to figure out what's it going to take to get more bus drivers to want to drive a bus. And we have to make it so that it's a job they enjoy, whether that means we have to find a way to go from 4 hours to 8 hours, additional work for them full time. That's what we have to do. We have to find it where bus driving is something that somebody wants to do. A lot of people doing it are closer to retirement. They're doing it as a side job, but we need to make it pay somebody something where they could actually live driving a bus.
Thank you, John. Abby?
I mean, my answer really mirrors that of John. So it does come down to that is an HR issue. We do have to pay our bus drivers a living wage to make sure that they can afford to do the job that they have been asked to do, which is a very big one. I'm not personally a parent, but I do know that having a late bus can really throw somebody's day off for sure. So yeah, I think it comes down to supporting the union and making sure we can get the work done. And that includes listening to the people doing the job now.
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah, my answer mirrors. We just talked a lot about this at the last forum. There's nothing worse as a parent than getting that text that your child's bus is going to be late or canceled for the day. It means missed time off work, which means the employer also feels the impact of that missed time. So we really have to look at why do we have a shortage of bus drivers? Why do people not want to hold these jobs? And why there aren't enough backup bus drivers so that if someone is sick, because they are allowed to take a sick day as well, there isn't someone there to fill in their spot. Reliable, safe transportation to school is imperative. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay, Abby. According to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia, 7.8% of Nova Scotians were identified with depression, compared to the national average of 5.2%. What would you, as MLA, do to advocate for proper support of mental health distress?
Again, one of the best ways to advocate for mental health is to make sure those in mental health care have the support and have the programs and have everything they need to do their job effectively. You could also support mental health by making sure that people can live. And that's through affordability, that's through housing, that's through healthcare, and making sure that people's basic needs are taken care of would probably solve a lot of the depression issues that are out there. But not always, for sure. But making sure that our mental health care workers have the support and the programs that they need would be fundamental.
Thank you, Ed. Shannon?
The depression rates in Nova Scotia are high. And there's also a lack of places for someone to turn to when you're in a spot. It affects your family, it affects your job, and it kind of can get you in a downward spiral. The Liberal platform does have listed in there that they want to have some more walk-in mental health clinics so that when you are in a state of desperation or depression, you have somewhere to go to get the help that you need. We also have to address the wait times that it takes to access mental health and support our citizens. Thank you.
Shannon, John?
Thanks, Greg. I mean, one thing that our government did when we were first elected is there used to be one Minister of Health. There's now three. There's a Minister of Health, there's a Minister of Mental Health, and the Minister of Seniors and Long-Term Care. Because we realized those three things were done under one minister, and that was a lot under it. So we've made a priority for mental health. We've added more programming available. And I mean, the big thing with all of healthcare is we need more of appropriate staff. HR is a huge issue, but we also have to figure out a way to retain. We need to get people that want to move to Nova Scotia, that understand why they want to live here and stay here. And if somebody has the answer for that, I'm sure all three of us would buy them something. Thank you.
Thank you, John. In the same vein, Shannon, given the current healthcare crisis in Nova Scotia, characterized by a shortage of primary care physicians and prolonged wait times for specialized care, what specific policy interventions will your government take to ensure quality, adequate, and accessible health care for all Nova Scotians?
Primary care is so important. My family, myself, have been without a primary care practitioner for the past 8 years. And that is going to be generational for my daughter. She hasn't had a checkup since she was 6, and she's going on 14. One of the Liberal ideas is to bring community collaborative care clinics. And I would be a strong advocate and voice to bring that within our community. We're very unique in Hants East that a lot of the times we get lumped in with Truro or we get lumped in with Halifax, but that is a 1-hour commute to get to the appointment, 1-hour commute to get back. That is not local health care. That is not primary care that we need within this community.
Thank you, Shannon. John?
So, Greg, that's one thing that we did do is there's been almost 1 million additional primary care appointments with how we've changed some policies. There are 31 primary care clinics in the province, 2 of them in East Hants. We just added Kennecook and the Guardian in Elmsdale. Everybody needs to have what we call now a health home because we are having doctors retire. And this has been seen by previous governments. I'm not going to name them because I'd name all 3 parties on here. I wouldn't list it to anyone. And we have got to make major decisions to do it. That's why we've had a net new of 265 doctors. But previous doctors would have 3,000, 4,000 on their list. New doctors want a life-work balance. So for every doctor who retires, we need 2 or 3. And we need to make them understand why they want to move here. That's why we've changed the accreditation. So somebody who is trained abroad can come here, and in under 12 weeks, if they pass, they can get their license. It used to be a 1.5 years. These are the types of changes we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Abby?
So the creation of more family doctor clinics is a number 1 priority for a potential NDP government. We would do 15 a year for the first 3 years of a mandate. This includes primary care. So not only do you have maybe a family doctor or 2, but you have a nurse practitioner, maybe a pharmacist, maybe a physiotherapist, because when you need to see, or if you need primary care, you don't always need to see a doctor, but you do need somewhere where your file is on record. You do need somewhere that they know you. You do need to go somewhere where maybe it's a sniffle today, but they still have access to your records to see if there's any long-term problems or something. And the creation of these clinics will help alleviate the wait time in walk-in clinics and our emergency rooms drastically. And there has been some good work and there has been some movement with the creation of things like the pharmacy clinics that can take kind of the hustle and bustle of like strep throat or UTI and get them out of a walk-in clinic. But there's still so many people that even I know that don't have a family doctor, but they're have a prescription. So every 6 months they have to go sit in a walk-in clinic for hours and hours and hours just to retell their healthcare story to finally get their prescription again. And that's a fundamental crisis that we need to fix.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, we're down to our final question.
Wow.
It's gone quick, eh?
This flew.
This did.
That's why I wrote the numbers down. I do that.
Okay, John, the last one is for you. Considering the rapid growth in East Hants and surrounding areas, It is imperative to ensure that infrastructure, transportation, hospitals, and schools are adequately developed to meet the increasing demands. If elected, what will you do to attempt to stay ahead of this ongoing growth?
So thanks, Greg. I'll be doing what I've been doing for the last 3 years, which is advocating why we need the schools that we have, some of them upgraded and replaced, why we should be looking at having primary care center in East Hants. And I'm just going to let my colleague know that actually primary care, somebody can get their prescriptions refilled by going to a primary care pharmacist. And I think the problem is most people don't know it. So sorry for going off question, Greg, but that's what we need to do, because for years, the province was in decline. We're now in growth. We have to find a way to manage it, but we don't want to go back into decline. And we have to advocate why. East Hants is East Hants. It's not Truro. It's not Halifax. It's not HRM. It's East Hants. And we need to have those services here for all the residents of East Hants. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Abby?
I think the best thing I can do is be a strong advocate for the residents of Hants East, so that we do manage our growth in a sustainable way. But I wouldn't sit in front of everybody here and say that I'm a developer or a community planner and no, but I know that there are a lot of experts out there with more expertise than me, and I would lean on them for their support and work with them going forward.
Thank you, Abby. Shannon?
Growth is important to a community, but again, it has to be thoughtful and sustainable, and we have to have the infrastructure and the systems in place to be able to have everybody feel welcome and supported within our community. I would be a very loud voice for these systems to be in place within Hants East. We need our schools refinished and refurbished, if not rebuilt. We also do need more primary care within the community, and we have to look at our roads and our infrastructure as well, so that as we grow, it's thoughtful and we are not faced with the problems we have today with the lack of housing, and which leads to the affordability crisis.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our question segment. Much different than the last debates I saw south of the border.
And thank you for that.
Also nice. So we'll hear some closing remarks, and Shannon, we'll start with you.
Right. Well, I first want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. I love politics. I love community. And I really appreciate the people that come out to ask the questions, to listen to what each of your candidates are saying, and to make a thoughtful decision about who you're going to vote for on the 26th. I love Hants East. I am passionate about this community, and I would work so hard to bring everybody together and solve some of the problems that are facing us. So again, thank you for having me here tonight, and it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Shannon. John?
Thanks, Greg. Again, same as Shannon, I want to thank everyone who came out and the Chamber for organizing this. I think the takeaway we need to look at is we need to make sure that Nova Scotia is going forward. And we need to make sure that we continue to be working to building up East Hants. And that's what, and I believe that's what every candidate actually is looking at doing. So I just want to thank everybody for coming up, and thanks for the questions.
Thank you, John. Abby?
I would also like to say thanks to the organizers, the Laker News, Dagley Media. Thank you for taking care of the tech for us, and the East Hants District's Chamber of Commerce. One thing about me is that with my background in journalism, I'm definitely a very good listener. And I think that's one of the most important things that an MLA can do for the communities is listen and take those thoughts and take those conversations and put them into action. And that is something that I would love to be for Hants East. And again, I want to thank everybody in the room for coming out. I know it's cold. I know it's a little blustery. And I also want to thank everybody for tuning in online, because engagement is important.
Thank you. If I may, just a personal note as we wrap up. Most of us share the same concerns you do about East Hants, and I commend you for actually wanting to do something about it. I've had the privilege over the years of meeting many wonderful candidates, and they certainly all have the best interest of East Hants at heart, and you three are no different, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for the water.
No worries.
In there. I was like,
Thanks, everyone. I just want to thank the candidates again for participating tonight and being here. I want to wish you all the best on the campaign trail. Again, thank you to Pat Healy and to, of course, Greg Roach and the man behind the camera, Matt Dagley with Dagley Media. We always appreciate your participation at these events. And on behalf of the East Hants and District Chamber of Commerce, we're glad to be part of hosting this event, and we hope that everyone gets out to vote. That's it, folks. Thanks very much. Have a good evening. Drive safe.
thank you.